Healing is the resolution. Love is the language. Healing starts with a choice to stand for unity, for compassion, for change. Across our community, every sector is stepping forward. Individuals, faith leaders, educators and educational institutions, athletes, government officials, business leaders, health professionals, law enforcement and fire service, each taking the pledge in their own way, yet united by one purpose. Because when we all choose healing, our community moves, our city breathes, and hope comes alive. Join the movement. Take the pledge at www.the411live.org. Print your pledge. Take a picture holding the I Took the Pledge and post it on your social media page with the hashtag the411live. Hashtag I dare you to heal. Now, I dare you to heal.
The 411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
Are you dreaming of owning your own home, but you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's way, way away from now? You might want to rethink that. Today, I have two experts who are helping people to realize that dream every day. And this includes people who don't even have money for a down payment. Interested? I thought so. Hello, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. Thanks for joining us. And also joining us, my two experts, and that would be Chris Stanley, who is the loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
And Princess Jones, real estate advisor, coach, sales manager of EXP Realty.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we hear so much about what's going on in the housing market. We hear interest rates are up. We hear a low housing stock. We hear competitive bidding and, trying to multiple bids on homes and people having to pay $20,000 more than the asking price just to get a home. What's the climate like now? Is it the same or has it changed?
I can start there.
Okay.
So we obviously aren't seeing what we saw previously, like right after the beginning of the pandemic. Interest rates have increased, which has slowed down buyer demand, but buyers are still very much buying. We are not seeing properties go $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking price like we were before. Maybe, I want to say about as early as maybe 2-3 years ago. We aren't seeing that anymore. It is still very competitive. We're seeing properties leave the market, stay on the market for maybe on average, depending on which market we're referencing, about 12 days, depending on the market. But inventory is still very low, and we're seeing the inventory rates at about 1.7 months. What that means is it's taking about a little under 2 months for all the properties to sell. So what we're saying is we're still seeing a very high seller's market, but buyers are being a little smarter. They're taking a little more stock in the fact that, interest rates are higher. So they're not looking to spend that much over asking price. So although we aren't seeing the prices go crazy over asking, we are seeing a lot of people still fighting for the same homes. Mm-hmm. But that's where strategy comes into play, where you have a conversation with your real estate advisor just so you can understand what your next best steps are. And, of course, making sure you have a conversation with your lender so he can aid you in making the best decision with regard to your finances.
Right. So, Chris, I know when the interest rate was lower, you were very busy.
That's correct.
But you're still relatively busy.
Yes.
But just not as much. Is that?
Not as much, yes.
Yeah. So from both of you, I want to know, and so this is that throw out question. When somebody comes to you, they want to begin that process. What is that question that you would really like them to be asking? What is that one question?
The one question that I would say is we need to get them ready to purchase. It's very smart for somebody to come to me for the pre-approval so that when they are connected with Princess, they know what they are able to purchase. You want to know what you've got the ability to buy before you set out looking. And, she wants to be able to confidently offer on homes with a pre-approved buyer.
Do most people do that?
I would say more people connect with the real estate agent first.
They usually come to us first.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Really?
That's my experience.
What is that one question?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm asking my buyers, what's the most important thing to you right now? And then usually that's like, well, I have to get out of my house today or within the next 30 days or within this particular time period. But I want to understand, we have a lot of questions to ask because especially when you're dealing with inventory being so low, you have to have a quick and sure understanding of what you're going to be looking for as you navigate the real estate process. And you also have to be prepared with understanding how you are going to navigate it. Are you willing to offer more money at the on the asking price? Are you willing to make moves or adjustments on the contingencies within your contract? We have to have a great understanding of what you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do as a buyer. But we most certainly have that conversation first about what's most important. We talk about location, the type of home. I do a very fun activity with my buyers where I have them close their eyes and they describe to me the exact home they're looking for, and it makes finding the home a little bit easier because it's like when you see a car. When you buy a car and now all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, it's because you know to look for it. So when we do that, we talk about what specifically are you looking for. So I get very specific with my buyers. What do you care about? Trees? Do you care about sidewalks? Do you care about if there's a train near the road? But the conversation has to be very specific because we want to make sure we're setting expectations early on, that they understand what they want to buy versus what they can actually buy. And that conversation comes once they have their conversation with the lender, which I usually refer out to.
Right. Because, you have that HGTV reality.
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
that big wish list, right?
Yeah.
And that realistic list. So you're helping them to navigate towards that
More realistic list, yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes.
So, Chris, I can imagine that people come to you and they're like, okay, I want to see what I can handle, And when I was talking to you earlier, there are a lot of opportunities out there that I did not know were available because we were talking about that 100% loan. There are a lot of people who say, I'm not even going to try the process because I don't have the money for the down payment.
That's right. And there are a lot of opportunities, and there's more opportunities that seem to pop up every day.
Really?
Yes. With regards to that 100% program that I've got access to, it'll go down to a credit score of 600, and it has no income limit. So regardless of how much money you make, you are still eligible for that. There's past programs that had 100% financing, but they were capped on the income that you made, and if you made too much money, you didn't qualify for them. Now we've got access to this program, and it's a very nice program.
So there are both of them out there.
There are.
So you can tailor it to the people who are coming in your door.
Yes, that's correct.
That's amazing to me because when I was that first-time home buyer, that was a long time ago, but you're walking in the door and the benchmark was 20%.
Yeah.
You're trying to get 20%, and that's a lot of money.
It is.
But to know that you can possibly go in and get a 100% loan, that's huge. To get something like that, what would the interest be? Are you paying a lot more for it, or?
It may be a little bit higher. When I say a little bit, maybe an eighth or a quarter% higher than market, but that's a small price to pay for the ability to finance and purchase that home with that 100% financing. And
Absolutely.
I've had a number of buyers that I've placed in that plan this year, and all have been very happy.
You know, I look around and I see apartments going up everywhere. There's just, it's amazing to me. I'm like, there's another apartment building going up? And I'm wondering, you know, are people, do they have in their mind that owning a home is unreachable right now? And, you know, listening to you guys, you're saying basically you need to tap into the process because it may not be so unreachable as you might think.
100%. A lot of the conversations I have with people who are currently renting is they don't want to have to deal with, cutting the grass or taking care of something that may break. And it's, the conversation then goes from, do you understand what equity is? Do you understand what happens when you own? Are those, you may not even need to cut grass or, maybe we do condo. Understand what your options are, but a lot of people who are renting just oftentimes don't know the amount of questions I feel day after day about people who just don't understand. One thing I really want everyone to know is that a conversation with a realtor does not mean you have to buy tomorrow. A conversation with your lender does not mean you have to buy today. It just means you're getting yourself set up for what's next. Okay, even if it's just understanding what happens and you decide you don't want to buy, that's okay, because the perfect time to buy is when you're ready. Mm-hmm. Okay, and when you can only get ready if you have a conversation with experts, if you understand what that process looks like from top to bottom.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we were kind of talking about that too. There are some people who might come in where it's not going to work out at this time, right? So you're kind of working with them so they can do what they need to do for later on.
And that's where conversations with my buyer come into play. For example, I had a young lady that was looking to purchase last year, and she didn't qualify for as much house as she wanted. She held off for a year, and this year she brought her mom in on the transaction. Mm-hmm. So she and her mom closed on a home that they qualified for together in the price point that they wanted to be at. There's other ways of doing things. I had another couple that was qualified for an FHA loan. They wanted to qualify for conventional financing, and they got a 3% gift from their parents. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ways to make things happen that people are unaware of. You don't know what you don't know.
Right. Right. Can you think of a circumstance or a client you had where, for good or bad, good experience, bad experience, either one, but it just kind of sticks out in your head?
In any scenario?
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I've been in the business almost 10 years, and I have been very fortunate to have some of the most amazing clients. And I'm not just saying that, I promise.
Right.
My clients invite me to their weddings. They invite me over to housewarmings and barbecues. I'm friends with a lot of my clients. Mm-hmm. I absolutely enjoy my experience. But I'm going to say probably one of my least favorite things is when I have buyers who sometimes just don't understand their desires, I should say, versus reality. And even though we've had those conversations, sometimes they may not fully grasp it and still are pursuing something that they may not be able to afford.
Right.
You'd be surprised how oftentimes, some people can be so detached from what the reality is, despite all logic. Right. So that will probably be my least favorite experience, but that is not something I encounter often because most people at that original conversation we have, they hear, they listen, and then we push forward with the strategy we've put in place. But that can happen sometimes.
It's like one of those situations where people see that house, they fall in love with it and they get that emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
Whereas it may be kind of out of bounds for them.
It's I can tell you it's not something I've shown them. It's something that they saw on TV or on Zillow that they want, and it's not possible. And it's not to say it's never possible, but right now it's not.
Right.
Based on what we've got in front of us.
Right. So you have to have that serious conversation with them.
Yes, ma'am.
To bring them down.
Yes. We have that conversation. We talk about what their pre-approval is, and then I show them what's available within their range. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there are opportunities where I can negotiate something maybe a little above their pre-approval to knock the price down on certain properties, depending on a various amount of circumstances. Not always the case, but sometimes I'll go above their pre-approval amount to find something that might work and we can negotiate down. But we have very, very particular conversations around location, type of property, and price point.
Yes, absolutely. You know, during this podcast, I'm probably going to say this several times, but listening to you, talking to you before the podcast and talking to you now, the big takeaway I really want people to have is if you really want a home, go ahead and tap into it. Find out what that process is. Find out what you need. Could be you have what you need, but if you don't, then you can find out what it is.
Can I give you an example of that very thing?
I'll tell you what. We're going to take a break.
Oh, lovely.
Come back.
Yeah.
We're going to get that example.
Excellent.
Stay with us. We are talking about housing, buying homes, becoming a home buyer or a homeowner. This is the 411 Live. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more.
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
My roommate Taylor lost her mom and just a few weeks later went through a really bad breakup. She felt hopeless. She kept a gun for protection. And I just couldn't let something preventable happen. I pressed pause. I filed a firearm restraining order to temporarily remove the gun. It wasn't easy for Taylor, but she got the help she needed. Learn more at illinois.gov/pause to heal.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. We are talking about home buying. And I have Chris Stanley, loan officer, and I have Princess Jones with me, real estate advisor. And when we left, you had an example.
Yes, I'd love to share. So I had she wasn't a client yet. She was considered a customer. We don't want to go into that differentiation right now. But at that point, she was a customer, and I had made a phone call to her, and she's like, yeah, I'm looking at this property for $5,000 owned by the city. And she said, but that I've got a little money saved, but I think that's what I can afford. And as we continued speaking and I started to ask her more questions, I asked, if her credit score was. She's like, oh, I can't afford anything. My credit score is at a 640. She thought she needed a 700 credit score. I think I only have like $10,000 in my savings account. Ma'am, you have so much more than most people have saved. So we had a conversation. I told her the specifics. I told her what most people don't realize is that it's more than closing costs and down payment. You have earnest money, inspection, appraisal, all those things to pay for afterwards as well. And she was more than prepared. She ended up purchasing a $120,000 home instead of that $5,000 fixer-upper, yeah. And so she was really excited about that. And it's so funny. It's coming full circle. We actually just sold her property after 7 years, I want to say she's had it, and pursuing another one with her. So most people just don't know what they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so once we had that conversation, she was very excited to know that she can afford something.
Right.
You know what? And I think her score was actually a little lower than 640. It may have been like 625.
Okay.
As I think about it. So,
okay. Yeah. And that is something that kind of a myth that it has to be 700 or 725 in order for you to purchase a home.
Yeah.
And That's not true.
No, as a matter of fact, in most cases, I've worked with people who are at around maybe in between 620 and 650.
Right. To me, it sounds like having a loan officer and a real estate agent who almost come together kind of like a team. To me, it's just like a dream team.
That's exactly right. We are a team. As a matter of fact, I have preferred lender partners that I work with because I know that they're going to get the job done. I love working with lenders like Fairway Mortgage because they have very specific processes. They communicate well with the agent. The lender is responsible for 2 contract contingencies, the appraisal and the financial contingency. So we want to make sure that we're working with someone who's going to communicate effectively, who's going to make sure that these things are done on time because we're in a legally binding contract.
Right.
So we want to make sure that those contract deadline dates are not missed. And if you have, and I have unfortunately worked with some really unfun lenders who weren't as communicative. So there were things we were scrambling in order to get things done. But when you work with amazing agents like with Fairway, you don't have that kind of experience. I work with some amazing lenders at Novus and also Fairway. I just thought about that. My other lender partner is Fairway. And we don't have those issues because the team dynamic is put in place. We know how each other works. We know the communication style of the other individual, and it helps our clients at the end of the day.
Right.
I've had lenders call me on behalf, as a listing agent, on behalf of their buyers. That's a beautiful communication strategy just to help their buyer's offer look better to the seller, right? So the partnership between your realtor and your lender is the best, one of the best partnerships you'll see.
Right. And to me, it's even better if you have a lender like Chris who
Yes.
knows about this 100% loan, some of those things that are available that another lender might not know.
Right. And you, having a local lender is something that is
Yes.
very huge
Yes.
too. When Princess goes to present an offer to the listing agent, if they see it's from a national lender that you may see on TV a lot of times, right? Versus somebody that's local and has a local phone number and a presence locally and maybe closed a deal with me before. It goes a long way for getting that offer accepted.
Pick up their phone on a Saturday.
Yes, absolutely. One touch too. You know
Yes.
that when
Yeah.
you're calling, it's not a 1-800 number going to California or what
Yes.
have you. It's picked up by me. And it makes a big difference in getting buyers' offers accepted in this competitive marketplace.
Absolutely.
We've talked about a lot of things that misconceptions, whether it's the credit score or the down payment or different things. What are some of the other myths or misconceptions that you run into, with potential clients? Are there any other drawbacks or things that are holding them back?
I would say you touched on the 2 biggest ones is credit score. People think that their credit score needs to be perfect. We've already hit on the fact that it does not, and down payment is another big one. People think, you mentioned 20%, even 5% is
Yeah.
a much bigger number than 0%.
Yeah.
So if somebody's able to purchase without any money out of their pocket aside from closing costs, unless we are able to negotiate a seller credit to pay them, it opens a lot of doors. And Princess talked earlier about equity and earning equity. The sooner that you get in to purchase a house, the sooner you start earning that equity. So if you hold off 2 years, that same house is most likely going to cost you $20,000 or $40,000 more than it did this year.
Let's talk about, because I really wanted to hit on that too, because that's where your wealth grows. I think of my house. Well, when I got it, I thought it was going to be a starter home, but I'm still in it. We didn't just made some improvements,
Yeah.
and kept going, and now it's twice.
Yes.
You know, it's grown. The value, twice as much, a little bit more actually. So that's how your wealth grows. You talk about equity. You know, you can pull things out. You can get a loan to do other things if you need to. There's money in that. Do you think people? Cause you were talking about folks going to the apartments and saying, "I don't want to fix things" and things like that. But do you think that they realize what home buying is all about, or owning a home, and that wealth and that generational wealth?
I don't think they always do. And in this day and age, you have a lot of TikTokers and people talking about those things. So there may be a few, you know, they may be a little bit more knowledgeable, but there are still gaps in their understanding, and that's why it's always great to speak with a professional. But home ownership is a major key as far as generational wealth, of course. And so I'm always going to be a huge proponent of it. We want to make sure that people understand what they're getting into. We want to make sure you understand that, you know, as a homeowner, from my perspective, we're making better communities. When you're a homeowner, there are studies that have shown that you have, better households, you have better communities, better schools, better parks, better things when people are homeowners. So we want home ownership, not just for the fact of generational wealth, but for better communities, safer, more vibrant communities.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing too, I'm thinking about talking about, you know, the myths that may be out there and the things that hold people back in some of the folks in the underrepresented communities. If there aren't a lot of homeowners, they may not look at it as something that they can achieve, right?
Yeah.
So you want to change that mindset as well.
Absolutely, 100%. And, you know, I don't want to dig too much into that topic because there are points that I'm not ready to make. But what I will say about this is that I would love for people to be more open to conversations about what it looks like and what it means to embrace homeownership. You know, one of the things that I had a very candid and open conversation before with a lender friend of mine about gifts. You mentioned gifts earlier. And a lot of people in underrepresented communities or don't always have that availability. They don't have people available to give them gifts. So sometimes that option isn't available. And when that's not, it's like what other options do we have then for these people to pursue? And so we try to connect with lenders who do have connections with like housing resources or ACS housing to ensure that people are able to get extra funds in order to do that. No, you're not going to know what to do unless you talk to someone. We've said that a few times already. But I just want to completely dispel the myth that, you know, if that homeownership isn't possible for you because maybe your credit score is too low or you don't think you have the income. Let's talk about what your income is, what your credit score is, and build a plan.
Right.
That's always the go-to, you know, because there's always a resource. One thing I like to say that realtors we are a bag of resources. We can get you a contractor, we can get you a painter, we can get you a lender, we can get you an appraiser, we can connect you with so many different people. We can connect you with anyone for the most part. Okay. So if, come to us even for those smaller types of questions, do you know if I can, get a grant? Yes, you can. Let's talk about that. But come to your realtor or your lender. We can help you.
Right. That's very good. That's very good. Do you have something, because we're almost out of time, that you want to leave folks with?
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Princess just said. I mean, we've talked about it a number of times, but people don't know what is out there unless they connect with a local realtor or lender, because the opportunities are endless. There's just so many loan programs out there and so many different ways I can assist people, and I put the pieces to the puzzle together. So I take a look at everything, the big picture, and I find the loan program that works best for that customer. It is not cookie cutter. Something that works for one may not work for another, and there's just lots of opportunities. So reach out if you think you may not be able to. Let me take a look, and I will let you know if it's a reality right now or if maybe we need to wait a year.
Yeah, they might be surprised. All right. Well, thank you very much. I told you it was going to happen really. It's going to go really fast.
That
right?
was very
It was fast, but you gave us great information. And what I'm hoping that there are some listeners who are like, I think I can do this. At least I'm going to investigate it.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the important thing. So thank you, Chris Stanley, who is the loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and Princess Jones, real estate advisor, coach, sales manager at ESP Realty. Thank you guys for all this great information. And thank you for joining us for another episode. We enjoy bringing you interesting topic and outstanding people. We are a nonprofit organization, so if you would like to partner with us, go to our website, the411live.org. Until next time, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.